Can you imagine an army that didn't actually exist? Tanks made of rubber, soldiers who were artists, and a mission that could change the entire direction of World War II. Today, I'm going to tell you a secret story that stayed hidden for almost 50 years. It's called the Ghost Army. This is a story of creativity, courage, and deception. The year is 1944. World War II is at its deadliest stage. Allied forces are pushing through Europe, fighting the German army on multiple fronts. But there's a serious problem. German intelligence is extremely strong. They have spies, informants, and reconnaissance aircraft constantly watching Allied movements. So American military planners asked a dangerous question. What if we could fool the enemy? What if we could make them believe our army was in one place, while the real force moved somewhere else? From this idea, a top-secret unit was born. Its official name was the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. History would later remember it as the Ghost Army. In early 1944, around 1,100 young American men were recruited. But these were not ordinary soldiers. They were artists from elite art schools, graphic designers, sound engineers, radio experts, actors, and stage designers. Men who had never imagined they'd fight a war, using creativity instead of bullets. The Ghost Army relied on three main forms of deception. First, inflatable decoys. They built fake tanks, trucks, jeeps, and artillery, all made of rubber. A massive Sherman tank that normally weighed 40 tons could be inflated by just 4 men in a few minutes. From the air, German pilots saw what looked like entire armored divisions. At night, a handful of soldiers would carry deflated equipment into position. By morning, it looked like thousands of troops had arrived. Sound engineers recorded real battlefield noises, tank engines, marching troops, construction work, even soldiers talking. These sounds were played through huge speakers mounted on vehicles. They could be heard miles away. German troops would hear tanks moving and armies gathering, but there was nothing there. Radio deception. The Ghost Army sent fake radio messages using real Allied codes. Messages about troop movements, artillery positions, incoming reinforcements. The Germans intercepted these transmissions and believed major attacks were coming. To make it even more convincing, soldiers walked into nearby towns. They talked loudly in cafes and public places. They mentioned famous divisions. They hinted at secret offensives. Local spies passed this information to German intelligence. The illusion was complete. The Ghost Army carried out more than 20 missions. One of them took place in Brest, France. Real American combat troops needed to quietly move out of the area. The Ghost Army moved in instead. They set up fake tanks, played sounds, sent radio traffic. The Germans believed the area was heavily defended and didn't attack. The real troops escaped safely. Their most important mission came during the Rhine River crossing. This was the final barrier before Allied forces entered Germany. The Ghost Army created a massive fake army dozens of miles away from the real crossing point. German commanders rushed troops to defend against a threat that didn't exist. Meanwhile, the real Allied forces crossed the river with far less resistance. Historians believe this single deception saved thousands of lives. In another operation, just a few hundred Ghost Army soldiers convinced tens of thousands of German troops that they were facing a massive American force. The Germans waited. They hesitated. By the time they realized the truth, it was too late. Among the Ghost Army were men who later became famous. Bill Blass, who would become one of America's top fashion designers. Ellsworth Kelly, a legendary modern artist. Arthur Singer, a renowned wildlife painter. By day, they created illusions for war. By night, they sketched, painted, and wrote in journals. One soldier wrote, "We were soldiers, but our weapons were imagination and illusion. We saved lives without firing bullets." But make no mistake, this was not a safe job. They operated near the front lines. Enemy artillery landed nearby. German patrols sometimes came dangerously close. 21 Ghost Army soldiers were killed during the war. They were artists, and they were heroes. When the war ended, they returned home. But they were ordered to remain silent. They couldn't tell their families. They couldn't tell their friends. For nearly 50 years, their story stayed classified. Only in the mid-1990s did the truth finally come out. The world learned that entire German divisions